Hello everybody, this is Conquering History Games and welcome back to my first Kaiserreich guide in quite a long time. We're on Alpha 0.6, Garibaldi's Nightmare, and so I can finally resume, at least to some extent. Today, first one is going to be, I think I'm getting this pronounced right, Deutsch-Ostasien, right? Deutsch-Ostasien? Which I will from here on call DOA. So let me first talk about the thing that I'm sure a lot of you are watching this guide for. I am not going to talk about how to avoid the Indochina Revolt in this particular guide, because I'm sure that's something that people are going to want to be its own separate video so they can just quickly reference it whenever they need to. Okay? So here I'm going to be showing you guys DOA. It is the new name for some of the German, of course, obviously the East Asian colonies based around Singapore, including Malaya. You've got German New Guinea. Oh yeah, thank you, Kaiserreich team, as always. You have some areas up here in China and whatnot. The AOG I'm not going to talk about because this is going to get reworked later, and you're going to have like the League of Eight Provinces and things like that. But let's just jump into the country itself. This is a brand new one as of 0.6. It is a dominion of the German Empire in the same way that Mittelafrika is. It's just based in East Asia, and it is essentially a colonial security force and administration that is also technically a country. Or a navy with a country is another way that you could look at it. So there's a few things to go over here. First off, let's look at the research slots. You only have 3. Well, I shouldn't say only. 3 is pretty good. 3 is pretty good. One of your national spirits, the Grand Admiral, is going to give you a minus 5% research time on all of your naval doctrines, and you're also getting reduced research time because you're on free trade. You already start with electronic mechanical engineering, and one of your ministers, Dr. Wilhelm Solf, is also reducing your research time. Now, even though you're only starting with 3 research slots, you're actually quite technologically advanced, all things considered. You already have access to Mountaineers and Marines, motorized equipment, infantry equipment 1, recon in engineers. You've got both light and heavy tank ones available to you. Let's see, you don't have any land doctrines, my bad. You have almost all of the 1936 technology researched already regarding your Navy. Same thing with your Air Force. Almost all 1936 technologies have already been researched, so you're getting that nice, good head start. And you do have electronic mechanical engineering already researched, which I personally always really like, because then you could just jump straight into mechanical computing, which I always personally have a little bit of trouble figuring out exactly when I want to do that. So this means you can just get it immediately. And you also have access to synthetic refineries. So quite a technologically advanced country for the start of the game, all things considered. You've only got 9 civilian factories, 4 of which are being used up by consumer goods, but this number is going to rise because these colonies are some of the most resource-rich areas in the entire game, really. Particularly Malaya here is a huge source of rubber, tungsten, and steel, so a lot of people are going to be trading with you, and so you're going to get a lot more civilian factories from that. I don't want to give you guys a hard number because it could change from game to game and as the game goes on, but expect more civilian factories to be coming in because of your access to all of these resources. Military factories, you've only got 4, and also only 4 naval dockyards. Most of these aren't assigned anywhere just yet. So now that we've gotten that taken care of, 17 divisions in your army, as well as only 2 generals and a field marshal. But all 17 divisions, which are entirely infantry and marines, are at least regulars, which is nice. So you've got that going for you. Although on the other hand, if you're somebody who likes to train at the beginning to get a little bit of army experience, that's not going to be happening. This is a pretty interesting dude who's one of your generals, Hermann Detzner. He was somebody who was here in German New Guinea during the First World War. Quite an adventurer, wrote a book full of mini lies, but an entertaining one. And as your field marshal, you can choose von Mucke himself, aka Steve Carell in a suit. This is your focus tree. Which is, actually, no, before we go into the focus tree, my bad. Let's talk about the national spirit. So you've got some interesting ones here. For example, Colonial Question is giving you 5% recruitable population, but your recruitable population factor is being reduced by 80%. I already talked about the Grand Admiral, and then the colonial government is basically a national spirit that is influencing how much of the trade is going towards the German Empire, because you are a dominion underneath them. Still, as you can see though, you have a lot of resources available to you, obscene amounts of rubber, a lot of tungsten, a lot of chromium too. You're only a little bit short on aluminum right now. Everyone knows that Asia never really has too much aluminum in Hearts of Iron 4. Now let's talk about the status of the Admiralty and begin the game. And again, I will not be talking about how to avoid the Indochina Rebellion in this guide. So, status of the Admiralty is something that you always have to do at the start of your game, and then it is going to open up the rest of the tree, kind of, for you. As you can see, right now, you do have the ability to take any of these focuses if you want, or I should say any of these 3 focuses, which leads towards your air tree, your infantry tree, and your navy tree. As long as you do not have the National Spirits Black Monday or Colonial Tumult, which you don't have. But anybody who's played Kaiserreich before will tell you that that's not going to last for very much longer. We're just going to wait for things to explode. Just do some other stuff in the meantime. So let's start going a little bit over this. First off, your air tree, really simple stuff, just your basic, adding air bases, getting bonuses for your air doctrine, things like that. And at the end, you get to request German planes. After you're done with status of the Admiralty, or at about the same time, you're going to be hit with Black Monday, which is going to absolutely cripple you. As you can see from these numbers here, you can go over them on your own. And you also are going to be hit with a second negative effect any moment now. Right, but anyway, the air branch, pretty simple stuff until and the only key thing here is that you're going to need it if you want to get more stockpiles down here, get some anti-air technology and things like that. Alright, so once Black Week ends, you're going to be hit with Colonial Tumults because there's an insurgency that is spreading throughout your colonies because of the effects of Black Monday. Now, you have 2 different directions that you can go in here. A collaboration with the local elites or fiscal austerity. Both of these, once you finish them and by the time you get down to New Admiralty, are going to get rid of Colonial Tumult and Black Monday. It's just a matter of which one you want to do first, as well as some other small differences. Actually, not so small differences. Now, if you go for the fiscal austerity, that's going to help you get rid of Black Monday first, or you can collaborate with the local elites to get rid of your colonial instability. We're going to just go down the fiscal austerity path this time for demonstrating. But I'm by no means saying that one is better than the other. I try to avoid saying that as much as possible. All right, now you're going to start getting some events that have to do with Indochina and the colonies as a whole. There are certain things that you could do to with these sorts of events, particularly this falling price event, to avoid the Indochina Revolt. I'm not going to be talking about that today. You can choose, for example, with these falling prices, to choose that none of this is our business and you're going to lose factory output, construction speed, and production efficiency cap for a year. You can protect Indochina, which was just going to cost you political power, but also resources to market for a year. Or you could protect Malaya, which is going to do the same thing, but it's only for about half a year. Let's just say this is not our business. I'm just going to be taking the first option on all of these, okay? Because I'm not trying to show you guys how it all works just yet. Alright, now let's talk about the naval tree. You can begin to take the naval tree as well as the air corps and the land one once you have gotten rid of both of these national spirits. A little bit of instability in Indochina, that's always going to be happening. You can't come down here until you've worked on your navy, because your navy is obviously a very important part of your how your country works. So you have the Grand Fleet down here, giving you political power, and then you need to just choose which doctrine it is that you want to follow. You have access to all 3 of them, and then afterwards you could go for carriers, cruisers, battle cruisers, etc., and then expand your naval facilities, getting more navy bases and things like that. Speaking of navy, let's take a look at what you've got. It's a pretty good navy, all things considered, here at the start. It's about 60 or so ships, a little bit less. Wait, no, yeah, it's about 60 ships. In 4 fleets, you've got all sorts of things available to you here: submarines, carriers, battleships, light cruisers, heavy cruisers, etc., etc. It's going to be enough to at least get you through this early part of the game, although you may want to increase the size of it later. particularly since Japan is probably going to be your primary enemy, since Japan just about always is going to strike south because they want these resources. Another enemy that you might have to worry about is the Kingdom of Siam here, who typically joins the co-prosperity sphere, but even if they do not, they might try to stake some claims on Indochina and Malaya over here. And we cannot forget the Netherlands, which sometimes is going to stick around with Middle Europa, but other times can go totalist. They could become Indonesia, they could become independent, maybe you could try to attack them. There's all sorts of things we could do. Plantation strikes. Again, I'm just taking the first option every time. Alright, now, we have this effect here, Colonial Mark. Colonial Mark says it's going to remove your national spirit austerity budget, which is what replaced Black Monday. But if you actually read it, the austerity budget is removed, and you get an austerity budget right back, which has the exact same effect. When you're taking a Colonial Mark, what it's actually doing is setting a timer of 1 year for when you'll actually be rid of the effects of Black Monday. So the sooner you take it, really, it's probably better. Alright, let me just do some signing here. Okay. Now, so the Colonial Mark is going to take care of that. Let's go over here to the army section of the tree. So your first, the Ostasian force is going to give you a little bit of army experience so that you can actually modify your division some more, and more land doctrine as well. Then you've got a choice between using the locals to supplement your army, or to go with a German force. The locals are going to at first actually reduce the capabilities of your army while increasing the size of your potential manpower pool. So as you're seeing here, less attack, less defense, less recovery rate. Once you breach the language barrier down here, it is going to almost entirely take away the negative effects of that. And eventually you can go down to formal rights for service, and this also gives you more land doctrine focuses and things like that. If you were to go for a German force, you're going to get a better... You're going to get a stronger army, so you're getting extra attack, extra recovery rate, more planning and things like that. You're going to get the enlisting of the military police is going to give you some more units as well, and you can ask Germany for some elite forces. And over here, no matter which way you go, you can ask the German Empire for more equipment, artillery, rifles, things like that. Alright, coming back over here. Once you're done with the naval branch of your tree, you can then start to work on some other things. So, for example, coastal fortifications. You have a lot of different focuses that are putting forts here in the... Okay. That are putting forts here in Malaya, some in Indochina. Of course, you want to hold on to Singapore because Singapore is your capital. Things like that. Wait, which ones am I... Okay. Things like that. Let's get a little more political power. Also, take note, I'm not calling out the times of every single one of these focuses, but when you're trying to plan out your own situation, you're going to want to pay attention to that as well. Because as you can see, for example, these are 35-day focuses down here, the pacification ones, which are going to add extra land forts and give you more stability in certain areas of your colonial administration. These take 70 days. So, for example, that's 70 days. This is 35 days, 35 days, 35 days, 35 days. But over here, it's 70, 70, 70, and so on and so forth. So you're really going to want to keep an eye on the dates, the length of time each of these take when you're going through the trees. All right. So once you are done with your naval branch, as I said, you're going to be able to do things like get coastal fortifications, marines. This is kind of hard to really define what kind of stuff all this goes over. This is sort of your navy. This is sort of your infantry. One of the more interesting ones here is the jungle warfare focus, which is going to give you more attack, defense, and movement whenever you're fighting in the jungle, which of course there's a fair amount of here in Southeast Asia. Oh, look at that. There's a civil war going on. And it all leads to the ruling of the Pacific, which is just going to give you a big boost to your navy. So over here, we are continuing to go through the fiscal austerity tree, and this is eventually going to lead to the new Admiralty, which is an event. This can actually have two different effects depending on which one of your branches that you went down. I'm going to talk about it once we actually get there. Afterwards, you have some more options to take. For example, you can come down here to Research Institutes, which is going to give you another research slot. What is this? Commune movement. Okay, wait a minute. This is kind of important. this is when the Indochina Revolt happens. You have two different options here. Let's say you want to deal with it peacefully. This should then fire on August 22nd to 25th, about in that range. We're just going to wait for it. There it is. Yeah, it's always in that range, somewhere between 22nd and 25th. So the Saigon Uprising is going to happen, and if you want, at this point, you can take Vive la Revolution. I don't know why I gave that kind of an accent, but and then you can become Indochina over here. This is not an Indochina guide. I will make that one day, but we're not going to make that switch. For right now, you're going to say, damn the Viet Cong. But something I want to point out, if you look at your actual divisions, you're going to see here, some of these say they're Indo-Chinese. So if you click, damn the Viet Cong, they disappear. Or they will disappear here in just a moment. Well, they're supposed to disappear. But as you can see, I haven't really added that much to my army. Wait a minute. And so we should be able to make pretty short work of these people. So you can see plenty of green bubbles. They do spawn a few divisions, but it's usually not too much to worry about. So we're not even going to pay attention to that, really, and we're just going to let them do their own thing. Let's get rid of that so they've got more infantry equipment. And they should be more or less able to take care of themselves. Now, rule of war. This is just kind of a funny one. It's not super duper important, but you have two options to take here. You can get the National Spirit Viet Cong Killer, which is going to give you an attack bonus against Indochina, which I actually just did. The other one was going to give you more war support. But if you look here now, Viet Cong Killer, there's a reference here to Full Metal Jacket. Anyone who runs is a Viet Cong. Anyone who stands still is a well-disciplined Viet Cong. So you just basically have to ask yourself what's more important to you, the short-term gain you can get against Indochina, or is it better to have war support, which is going to be better for you. You could just use that against anybody. Speaking of war support and stability, you'll notice that because of your colonial issues, because of Black Monday and such, you're actually in the negative stabilities. I'm not even entirely sure that this is possible in vanilla Hearts of Iron 4. I've certainly never heard of anybody going into the negatives, but believe me, it's definitely possible here in Kaiserreich. Just like negative 1,000 political power as Russia used to be a thing, and probably still is. Alright, we're going to keep just going down this tree here because we are just trying to get to the new Admiralty in the meantime. Okay, other stuff that I wanted to go over. Right now we are paternal autocrats. And in fact, the direction that we are going in should keep us that way. Or wait, no, never mind. But the point is, you've only got two real options here: paternal autocrats or authoritarian democrats, and that choice is going to be made when you come down here to the new Admiralty. So earlier, when I was showing you the one where the Europeans wanted to create this kind of a racial caste system, if you had decided that you wanted to do that, it would increase the popularity of your authoritarian democratic party by 10%. Which is, of course, something you don't want to do if you're going to be staying as paternal autocrat. But if you do want to become authoritarian democratic, that's probably an option you are going to want to take. Of course, there's always a lot of variables that you have to consider whenever you're playing this game. Alright. Now then, as you can see, the Indo-Chinese Union is actually kind of putting up a fight. It's probably because I'm not micromanaging. You know, you could easily do a naval invasion of Saigon and things like that, but it's never too much trouble. Anyway, other things I was going to talk about. I already went over the naval stuff, defensive sphere. Yeah, this is, of course, all just giving you bonuses on your core territory. Oh, I remember now. We need to go to a save game, which I have to find exactly because I always have tons and tons of save files for all of these guides. You're welcome, everybody. But here we go. The delegation to Middle Africa. After you are done with the Navy section of your focus tree, you can take a military delegation to Middle Africa, which is going to give you this event here, where you can send them either military technology or counterinsurgency and colonial administration stuff. Which one you select does not actually affect you. So the point of this is that it is going to open up more of these. So, for example, you can take counterinsurgency lessons right now if you wanted, but you would not be able to take napalm bombing because Middle Africa has not completed their focus, defoliant, and napalm. So if you go over here and you look at their tree, the defoliant and napalm is... where is it exactly? It's not a Middle Africa guy. Wait, I went totally the wrong way. It's Culture Conf. No. Oh, stop it. There it is. Defoliant and napalm after they do their military reforms. Right here, and the helicopter ambulances. These are two focuses that Middle Africa has to take in order for you to actually complete your focus tree. Because again, if we go back over here, the defoliant and napalm is needed for the napalm bombing, which is going to give you more ground bombing targeting. And then the Valkyries of the battlefield are going to give you more trickle back and less experience loss on your field hospitals because you're using helicopters. But you can't do this until Middle Africa has done it because you're sharing each other's technology, basically. Now, in this particular save file, I've already put down the Indochina Revolt. And you might notice here that there is the country of Vietnam. So Vietnam right now just has a generic focus tree. I think it's in 0.7. That's going to get updated. But Bao Dai here, if he had come to Vietnam, to Indochina, I should say, when Indochina revolts, he will say that if you let him be king of this area, he will help you out. So this could be something that you want to do. And of course, they're going to keep this area. So they become your puppet while you are also a dominion. So it's layers. It's layers all the way down. Now, from Middle Africa, you're also going to get some bonuses for right here. So, for example, this is going to give you aircraft and air doctrine. So without going into the avoiding of the Indochina Revolt, that's basically all there is to it, to the DOA. Oh, except I'm so sorry. You sometimes are also going to be able to interfere in some other southeastern countries. Let's go back to another save file. We need to go right here down to New Admiralty. I want to do that first. Alright, so this is a new Admiralty that happened after I took the collaborate with local elites half of the focus tree. So this is going to give you more dockyard output, and then you can just read there for the exact things that the rest of your administration is going to do. But you do stay as paternal autocrats, as opposed to if you were to go with the fiscal austerity, you would eventually become authoritarian democrats, and you're also going to get some other bonuses, which I'm going to show you right now after we're done restoring Napoleon, as you can see. Oh, what's going on? Don't crash. All right, there we go. So, new game. Come back in here. All right, thank you, thank you, thank you. Focus out autocomplete. Oops. There we go. So right now I'm just going to show you guys what some of these other things do. Alright. So, for example, if you go down this German force, you're going to have lost that other colonial national spirit that you had, and now you're getting the Prussian thought, so you're getting still the 5% recruitable population, but now you're getting minus 90% recruitable population factor. Also, your training time has gone up. I don't know if that's implying because you have to actually ship everybody over from Germany or what, but that's just how it works. And it's also going to make your special forces better too. I forgot to talk about that in particular. So, there you go. You now get the police regiment, which is just cavalry and MP. So, of course, that's good for occupying areas as well. So, it could be good if you're going for a more offensive way of fighting. The requesting of arms is also going to give you bonuses for certain things. So it's a good way to fill up your logistics, especially when it's early on. All right, so we've been hit with Black Monday now. So if we go through fiscal austerity, the new Admiralty now will change you to authoritarian democratic, and instead of getting additional naval dockyard output, you're going to get more daily political power gain. So click that, switches it over, and now you are at 50%, or in theory you could be at 60% if you took the European privileges one that's going to give you that additional 10%. All right. Now, there's still more. Always more to see. I want to talk about the Philippines, which are where I've got so many save files. Here we go. So sometimes when the American Civil War breaks out, well, all the time really, as you guys know, the Philippines will break away. And sometimes a socialist government can begin to take control. The German Empire, of course, doesn't like the socialists. So you're going to get an event here, send a fleet to secure the Southern Isles, which they will do. And again, there you have it. The Indochinese Revolt has been defeated. So you can get a couple of more islands here with decent amounts of population. Not quite as much as Malaya right here, but it is something, and they are not cores, though. The same thing can also happen in Burma. You can, the Kingdom of Burma could potentially become syndicalist, but instead you can just send a fleet up there to help secure the government. So that could be a good way to stop them from becoming syndicalists, and then the commune needs them, and you've got more regional powers that you have to worry about. But that's basically all there is to it. For the DOA, you maybe can get into it with the Philippines, maybe with Burma. You have to watch out for Japan. That's going to be hitting you once the 1930s hit. And essentially your job, is, if you can do it, is going to be to secure all these resource areas here in the Netherlands for the German Empire, as well as the Kingdom of Siam. And I think that this was a great little change, so Germany can focus more on what's actually going on in Europe, and they've got their dominion out here, which will be fighting the good fight for them against Japan. And I think it's gonna lead to some really interesting games, and it's great. So later this week, probably on Wednesday, I will upload the How to Avoid the Indochinese Revolt guide, which I'm sure a lot of you clicked on this wanting to see. I'm sorry, I'm just a little short on time. In fact, I got to start getting ready for work right now. Thank you all for your time. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.